Vicky Linnane and welcome to Embrace Therapy podcast. I am a practicing art therapist based in Ireland. In each episode, I will interview guests from various fields of therapy and well-being with the aim to encourage healing through embracing therapy. On the podcast this week is Marja Wilmer, an art therapist from Finland. She is now an honorary member of ICAT. She discusses her journey from Helsinki to London to Dublin and how it's been 10 years now that she's retired. Marja shares a wealth of experience. I hope you enjoy this podcast episode. That's okay, no problem. I just loved what you said at the AGM, and I just loved how, I just got such an insight from you about how much work people have put into art therapy. Even in the last 20 years, how much it's changed. Like it's huge.
It has, yeah. Certainly has. From my angle too, as I haven't, like I said, my last clients were private clients, and it's been 10 years. I came to a point where I was traveling too much, and you just couldn't, have such long times between the sessions and so on.
Yeah, of course.
So very first work that I did as an intern in the Finnish psychiatric hospital in Helsinki, where there was a psychiatrist and the art therapist working together. And he gave me the art therapist gave me internship in his studio. So that was very. Everything is very vivid in my mind. What happened there, and this this system, psychiatrist and the art therapists seem to be very fashionable in at a long time, or it was the beginnings of the art therapy getting into psychiatric scene as a sort of therapy form, because a psychiatrist was interested in it, and they knew somebody who was they took in the artist. And it simultaneously happened in UK as well with Edward Adamson and Netherlands Hospital. And the form of the psychotherapy then was very much the Freudian Jungian analytical approach. And the art therapist, to me, looked like he was a tool for the psychiatrist to get into the mind of the creative mind of the psychiatrically ill patient. And often also I felt, this is just my feelings, that they used the art therapist's work or patient's work as a diagnostic tool as well, which it was good that there was an interest, but at the same time, there was good interest and there was a bad interest. Some people just wanted, some psychiatrists, I felt, just wanted to somehow get a foot there, to have a good research paper and progress their career and things like that. But obviously, there was also very sincere people. But that also led to people classifying the form of art and art therapy as a schizophrenic art, histrionic type of art. And there was a, the features of schizophrenic art were fragmentation, and there was sort of geometrical, there was human, but repetitive self-portraits and things like that. And I have, from this experience, I have slides about exactly of that kind of work from the psychiatric, really acutely quite ill psychiatric patients, and And I remember, for example, it was often quite chaotic in this art studio, and it was kind of a lot of raw emotions flaring about and fights.
Oh.
Kind of, I remember one time there was a twin brothers who were both ill, and they were challenging each other, and sometimes there was knives flying about and things like that, and the question was always whether to call the security or what. But the group of patients themselves, they control the situation by saying, look, you can't behave like that in the presence of a lady. If I happen to be there myself, like it often was, and it was quite hair raising at the times. Um, so the other, about the histrionic art, when I was searching and wanting to find the actual training in Europe, I read about these guys called Wilmer and Wiart. They were the very early researchers in art therapy, psychiatrists. And I happened to be in Paris at one of the trips, and I thought, oh, I know he is in St. Anne's Hospital there, and I I called and say I would like to I would like to meet him, and like one does when you are sort of young and confident about that, and they agreed to meet me, and he did, and he took me into his studios. I have not a word of French, and my English is still what it is, and so he saw me. His research was in the hysterical people, who you diagnose a hysteria type of psychiatric condition, non-psychotic, it's a personality, maybe personality disorder. And he saw me the pictures, which were very very much sort of black and red, and sort of blood and guts flying about, and that made me think that is this now what we're looking for? If somebody produces a pixel like this, I can say, oh, he's a histrionic personality, and so on. So this was, I thought, interesting, but not so good, I don't think, for the art therapy, that we will sort of classify people in certain categories, what they produce, in art wise. But my experience always about the basis for the psychiatric illness is the fear. And I have come across with patients who has been so fearful that they have absolutely gone sort of catatonic. And I had one patient, this was in the Westminster Hospital psychiatric sector, where I was working as a head OT, and using art therapy. And I used them only because I've had to cover, about 20 patients daily. And I did have some help at that time. When finally this patient, who had been so ill, was brought down to me to the OT department, I decided to just separate her and sit with her. And this girl was Ugandan Indian girl, and her family was escaping the Idi Amin's regime in Uganda, and they were, because of being a sort of Asian Indian origin, I think they had a right to come to UK, and the family fled. But we didn't have any idea what experiences this young lady had. And she started to draw things for me. And I just, that was when I was able to give her that sort of safety and trust between me and her. And she drew this picture, which was like a door, and then a figure sort of creeping through the door. That was her first picture, and it was really, when you look at it, it was really frightening to me to see. And um, so, and from there onwards, she came every day. She didn't first talk to me. She was simultaneously on some psychiatric medication, you know, for psychosis, and so gradually that medication and the working together, she started to produce, the picture of herself was so detailed that it was like you could see every hair of her eyebrows and eyelashes. And because again, it was a picture of a person who is really alert, you know, because you have to be constantly, all your nerve endings are looking around where you are. And then gradually this one started to, the portrait became a little bit more relaxed. She started to talk to me as well. She heard of wildebeest, and it was easier for her to talk about than about her family, about this herd of wildebeest, and how they are very peace loving, but they often are threatened by the wildlife. And you know, so this person totally recovered, you know, and it was a combination of things, and medication was absolutely vital also in this thing. And she later became a shop assistant in Harrods social work organization. Then she came back to see me, and she was so grateful and thanking me about the times we had together. And it wasn't, I don't think it was me, it was just that space, and that she felt she could trust to be there with me. And she that was a wonderful thing that happened, that she recovered and was able to go and live her life. I never knew what actually happened to her, and I never sort of inquired her to come out with it. If it was in the drawings there, but if she didn't want to talk about it, we didn't talk about it. So there are along the way people who you never forget, you know, who were with you.
There's always that saying of like, we really love our clients. Do you know, our clients come to us for a reason, and we love them. Do you know that's often the case, and those particular ones really can touch us as much as we can have an impact on them.
Yeah. You can, you know, when I look back on my career, I saw many people, but there is not that many that I feel that I helped. You know, there are some that really stand out, and there was I saw children who were bullied at the school, and that was kind of very sad. That therapy with them was mainly to allow them to express how they felt when nobody wanted them, you know, and how to then give them sort of tools of assertiveness and coping skills, and tell them that things that were happening were not their fault, and so on. And yes, some of these worked very well, and obviously you also work together with the parents, you know, that the therapy actually continued at the home when the child got home.
So important to build resilience, isn't it? That it continues at home. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's very, very important with children. there was also, the divorce in Ireland came. I can't remember what year it was, but then I got a lot of children um, for individual therapy, and they were usually the very smart ones in the family who reacted to this breaking of the marriage. And I once asked a child who came, whose parents were separating, and the father left and had another relationship. Try to sort of find how her feelings were, and ask her, who is your favorite person in the world? And she looked at me and she smiled, and then she said, "You are hoping it's you." so, so,
Oh, wow.
but she said that if you're worried about how you are as a therapist, you're all right. She said. She tried to tell me, "Don't worry about it. You are all right." So the kids are so amazing, and so sensitive, because she felt that I don't want to upset her, like me as a therapist. So I'll say that you are okay.
Yes, yeah, of course. Oh, I find working with families that are separated very challenging. It's hard to just meet the child. It's everything, isn't it? It's the family that was and the family that is now, and it looking so
Yeah.
it's challenging, that work.
Yeah, and children often blame themselves that it's because I said something or I did something, I was naughty, and then now dad has gone, or so on. So it's always trying to reassure them that they, there's nothing that they did that happened here.
Mm.
And the mother then would, or whoever parent was left, would then reinforce, the
Mm.
same idea. Oh yeah, I wanted to tell you something about a patient who did pictures like this French man was telling me was very histrionic,
Yeah.
and I had a base in private consultation who came after, when she was discharged from the psychiatric hospital. She found me and came to me. So she came, and she started quite angry young woman,
Mm.
college student, and she started to draw these pictures who were exactly sort of coffin, blood, daggers, cross, this kind of scene. This girl, I felt, had problems of settling in the university, problems about her sexuality, which I think was never discussed
Yeah.
in any way. And I knew that she's going to be a difficult person, so I gave her a time limit of, I can't remember, was it 6 sessions, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And so before the weekend, she did all these pictures, and she said to me, "I might kill myself during the weekend." So I said, "Well, that would be terribly sad if you do that. Um, I am here whole weekend, and you can call me, and or you can come over, you know." But she said, "Well, therapists usually call my parents." And I said, "Well, you are adult. You're 19 years of age.
Yeah.
You're adult. You are in control of your own life and your own decisions. I'm not going to call your parents." Um, um, I said, I hope that you will come to other thoughts during the weekend. And as I said, I'm here, and so on. And the whole weekend, I didn't have her psychiatrist number or anybody's number,
Mm.
which I should have contacted. So I couldn't. But I also felt that this was a threat, she was testing me, and so on. So, but it was one of those moments which one can come across in therapy situation, that what shall I do? Would I trust her? Not doing it, and my instincts and whatever was in the play at the time. And sure enough, she came back on Monday, and smiled at me, and so we then continued from there. But you ask yourself, my God, what if something has gone so wrong? But it somehow, I felt that I had enough experience to suss out the person, but and she was fine after. She did her 6 sessions, and she thanked me, and I never heard of her after that. When you sort of relate what you learned and what you experience, relate it into the cases, the people you've seen and treat with, you can then you can remember. It gives you sort of as some sort of confidence as a therapist that you can get through these situations, and also you give a trust. You trust somebody that they do the right thing for themselves. It's a almost like it's giving a control to them. It's like a gift, somebody, one person trusted me. All those therapists never trusted me, but this weird Finnish woman trusted me, and she was happy, and also, I accepted. We didn't get around to talking about her sexuality thing, because I felt that she hasn't really gone there. I thought that it will surface sooner or later, to her.
Yeah.
But
I suppose just imagining how, when you started, like when you did in Helsinki, and the work that you did there, and how it progressed alongside your own career, how you developing as an OT art therapist, but then coinciding, art therapy is starting to grow alongside you, along your growth.
yes, and changed, and
Yeah.
and I can't really, you see, what was very valuable for me was the occupational therapy training as a basic training under there, and the working in the multidisciplinary team in the teaching hospital. That was just totally priceless, and that I was given a responsibility just beyond my my abilities, and that they kind of trusted me that I could take over this. I have 3 departments under me, and one was an inpatient unit, small though, and then day hospital, small day hospital, small children's day hospital. So, and then I got to this situation, when art or therapies changed in, you had this brief intervention therapy became fashionable, and because it was really more, it's cheaper, I think, when patients had shorter period of time in the treatment, and the focus was to give in the responsibility more to the patient about their well-being. That was the. I'm just trying to look at the
kind of more preventative and maintenance of wellness. Is that kind of it? Like they had to try and maintain a certain level of wellness.
Yeah,
something like that.
There was a sort of belief that people have resources. You have resources available to you to achieve things. So the therapist's role was to tap into those resources that or make the patient a person to realize themselves that they are able to take steps, and maybe we're not talking about huge change or full change, but it's the road towards the change in person's life, and so that was and at that point, when a second. Okay. When the treatment times became shorter, it was a time when Maggie Thatcher was the prime minister, and she started to close down the long-term psychiatric hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I was part of the team to, this was a multidisciplinary team, to create a day hospital in Vincent Square, where Westminster Hospital is, for long-term psychiatric patients who then supposedly daily attended to this day hospital, but they lived in some sort of sheltered housing. That was the idea.
Okay.
What happened was we worked 8 years. My job was to create the OT department with all its art therapy, of course, was there, and pottery, and then all the conference rooms and things like that. But it was a disaster in the sense, not the hospital itself. I don't know. I never look back when I leave somewhere. And it was terrible for that long-term psychiatric patients who had been in 20 years or so or more in the psychiatric hospital, institutionalized totally. And there were not places for them to come into in the sheltered housing. So I felt that, I would have actually liked to seen how it worked, but then changes came into our lives.
Big change with Thatcher, definitely.
Yeah. But this question at how this art changed, art or the therapies changed. And of course, because I felt that in early days, art therapist was like a tool or instrument to the psychiatrist to perform what he wanted to perform. Although there were good relationships that worked in Finland anyway. I find that the psychiatrist and the art therapist, they were in a ward together, and they were sort of separate, non-separatable, as a pair, so they worked well. But some of the psychiatrists that came after that were just self-interest mainly on the scene. But what I was going to say, so there was changes in the formal therapies, and you actually adapt. You as a therapist, you have to be flexible, and you have to find your own strengths and personality that works with, and you have to accept that you can work with some people well, others you get nowhere. But in OT training, what was valuable was the medical side of it, the understanding and the psychology and psychiatry and all that, and this kind of focus on the well-being of the patients, sort of multiple, areas that is all-rounded, how to help person to be that all-rounded person. And then the arts was natural to me because my family is so, that's what we all are. And it's just because like they say, that man expresses himself what he does, and in my family it was hands-on into whatever. It was various areas in our family. I had a big family because somebody was a painter, somebody was a sculptor, somebody became a singer, and so on. My father built our big house himself, draw it himself, handyman for him.
Handyman.
Everything was possible. You can do it. You just pursue things. But it's not only the, you're young when you get your training, and then you go into the profession. But then a lot of other things happen in your life. You form relationships, you get married, you have children, you move from one country to another, and all that shapes you, and whatever happens in your life, illnesses or other things, and you tend to then go back to in your own life doing things, doing whether it's handcrafts or whether it's art or whether it's just playing with your kids in an imaginative way or whatever. So it is something that I believe very strongly that it just needs waking up, woken up in people, this creative urge, or because once you adopt it to yourself, your ability to look at the life's problems is creative. You don't get defensive. You are you look at things creatively. You find another solution and another one. You don't buckle down. And that's why that is important for, I think, for all of us human creatures.
We need to play, don't we? We need to have curiosity in our world and in our thoughts, and an invitation to play and permission to play. Yeah, it's so important.
Yes, and yes, just tackle it, and if you can tackle things physically, it's easier. It's easier. And sports is one thing which is very good, or just some physical creative stuff, gardening, and to become custom about home maintenance, car maintenance, even.
Yes, I know.
You become custom of doing it and trusting yourself that I can do it. It will be difficult, but I can do it, sort of thing.
And achieving, having that sense of achievement. Yeah, it's so empowering.
Yes, that's right. And this sort of being in control of your own life or destiny or whatever. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be forced to go that way, because the flow is that way. No, you can decide and you can control the situations.
Yeah, we have choices in nearly every step of the way, don't we?
Yes, and that's so important. I discovered in patients' work as well, particularly when you have the individual client, that some people, I could say to them that, look, you decide, you are in control, whether it's your medication you have to take now, it's not that you just take what is given to you. Ask your doctor and discuss about it. And then if you feel that you're flipping on the sort of wilder side, to call your doctor and say, should I take a half a pill more today or for a while or something? So he is not putting you on the drugs. You do it together with him, and yeah, it's giving people confidence that they have the control of their life in their hands, and you can sometimes it's not produced in, it doesn't matter what you produce in there. You don't have to go into depths. It's piece of art. They relax into it, and then it doesn't matter what it is. They start talking to you or trusting you to share something, not necessarily about the picture, but something that's been in their mind. So the thing is that as a therapist, you need to be very flexible. There is not that now we produce the picture, and if you like to talk about it, we talk about it. But if not, we just put it on the side now and until you're ready or whatever. No, there is no. You have to trust yourself that you actually have your personality. Is fine, and you can relate to this person. You seem to be relating very well, so why not make most of it and
yeah, I'm definitely learning that at the moment with my clients,
yeah,
maybe coming in with some kind of plan in your head, and then when you get there, like, yeah, why do I have this plan? I don't need this plan. Go away, plan. Just be with the person,
yeah,
be with them, whatever they're bringing today. If they just need to just sit with them, just see what they need, and like that, there is no rule. There's no, you need to do something. There's no need for production. There's no need, it just can be whatever they need that day. Just a chat is fine,
Yeah. Particularly if you're in the situation like in, I worked short time in the palliative care place.
Yeah.
And you go with your art materials there, and you hope that they will start doing something. But sometimes they just want to talk to you, and you just put your stuff aside. And there was one case, a patient who was dying of lung cancer, a young man in palliative care, and I used clay with him, and first of all, he was he doesn't want to do anything, and so, but then he got interested of this clay, and he produced 3 elephants himself and his wife, and this baby that he didn't have, and then he started to talk about this loss that he felt he didn't have, and to leave a child behind with his wife. And I asked him that, has he talked to his wife about this? Has he talked to his psychiatrist about this? And he said that no. And I said that, why don't we set it up, and I'll be happy to be there as well. And we did set it up, but then when I went there, he had gone golfing.
Oh wow!
So, but it was. I thought that I was surprised that this hadn't come up, or this hadn't been thought about.
Yeah.
Earlier with him, and but then my time was up. I was only a short period of time there, so I did leave the message to next art therapist who was behind me, and was hoping that. But it was a wrong time when I have to leave. Sometimes I always feel it was unfinished business in so many ways, and yeah,
it's interesting
I think
that it happened in the palliative care. That unfinished business.
Yeah.
Because so many of them, they go with that sense of unfinished business. But maybe even him just telling you made it.
Yeah.
And creating something in that moment with you, the elephant, giving it shape. You know it.
Yes, and he was able to talk about it with me, but so you know that there are things that you have slight regret. I often, when I walk into the art therapy room, for example, and I start, like you said, that you come with your materials and things, and you think maybe we do such and such, and I put myself into the position of the person or the patient, and I think, what is he or she thinking? Me coming in, carrying this stuff, and then they have no interest whatsoever, and there she is speaking in a foreign accent, and we can't understand anything what she's saying, and things like that, and you know, this kind of sort of rejection straight away, and I you know, you sometimes you need to bring a bit of humor in as well, you know, to get, particularly to get the group going, and sort of make a joke about yourself or something, you know, to relax, because Irish have a very good sense of humor.
Yes,
I know this.
yes, absolutely.
So that can break the ice, and you can get going with things. The supervision was something that came in with the art therapy in Ireland. I was the first supervisor here, because there was nobody else. Well, at least that's I understood. I have no supervision training, other than I was in the supervision of a psychoanalyst in Westminster Hospital, and it was all directed for all the staff. That was the only supervision you got professionally, but it often ended up that I was the only person there. It was once a week session. That was the only supervision, and then of course during the training, when you're in a clinical practice, you have a clinical supervisor. But when people worked in private practice, they didn't. There was nobody, and being the sort of oldest person, and maybe more years behind.
Wisest, maybe.
Yes, it was very beneficial for me too, you know, and I just sort of related what they told me about their work to my work, and how I got out of the situation. You know, how they, because I noticed that a lot of the first people I supervised worked in the schools that had very difficult kids, trying to sort of get something going was very, very much hard work for the and our therapists were not, you know, really, you went through that sort of process that you were not really recognized or appreciated. Only maybe people who have interest in art can get something out of it, you know. That was the sort of attitude, you know, that was
still is really yeah. Especially in schools, there's definitely that sense, you know, you're going to do art, you know.
Yeah, and we got her now to take this disturbed kid away from the class for an hour or two, you know, that sort of thing. And this is why I feel that registration of the profession is so important. And I have to regretfully say that we did try very hard when I was in the association, but we didn't get anywhere for some reason, and I can't remember. I was not that active in it myself. I know that Liam was, and Jim, and I've sort of shy away things because I'm not naturally articulate, to put forward sort of, I mean, I can tell stories, but to put sort of facts and things forward. I could only vote and say,
I hear what you're
I
saying.
Sport.
But sometimes it's like, we try and we have the language for the government people, the ministers, and, we try and have that lingo for the doctors. But really, we're all humans, and story can resonate with so many of us, much more.
Yeah.
So, I know that Liam was and still is very much part of IACAT, and, I'm a member now of the council, and it's very important even still to try and get some registration and recognition. And the difficult thing is when you get so far, then the government change and it's new people you're trying to say, oh, this is what I do all over again. And I think that's the thing. But the last 35 years of hard work has done so much good for us,
Well, in the beginning, it was just so great to have just a handful of us to kind of support each other and push on, and then we got kind of burned out with it, and whenever the new person arrived, like Jerry Keegan, for example, I just grabbed her straight away and say, you are the chairperson now, and she was a great chairperson, and then you kind of feel can sit back now a bit. But you are amazing. That, I mean, what came out in this AGM, it's just fantastic. I'm for all this technology and whatever. You should see this room now. I don't think you can. What? This is my daughter's bedroom. She lives in London, so the equipment and the wires that are running in here, and I hate these. I mean, the iPhone. You asked if you can join my link in. Yeah. I'm not in it anymore. I'd be delighted, but I don't want to have anything to do
I understand. It's enough. It's sometimes just too much, isn't it? Like, yeah.
I just, I'm an old age pensioner, so I'm allowed to not to have to know about these things. All is for me is to contact my grandchildren, and that's it.
Of course, I know. Yeah. It's lovely to have that almost window of just seeing them through the window, kind of like feel. It's lovely to have that connection.
It's really given you a lot of depth to children. I often think back of the children I treated with. I tell you, one child who was 5 years of age, I didn't want to really take that young child for private therapy, but the mother was very keen, and so I got this most amazing little girl. And this was again a sort of separation thing. The father and mother has separated, and father lived abroad and came every now and then wanted to see the child by himself, and so on, and so on. And then the child was just so creative, like most of them are. And she wanted, I have this little hut in my garden. She wanted to make a nest, bird's nest. And she told me what she wanted to do. And she wanted a baby bird and mommy bird to sit in this nest. And then she wanted us to do the daddy bird to fly into the nest. This is a 5-year-old. And so you have to quickly, as an art therapist, start to think, this has to be successful now. How are we going to do it? So we we went to my garden and get some sticks, and we built this kind of nest into the sticks, and then we made out of clay this mummy bird and the baby bird. And then how you do the daddy bird to fly is it had to be in the air, flying into the nest. Mm-hmm. So we made first the daddy bird out of the clay, and then we touched the string and then another end to a stick, so we could make the. You see, you have to think very, very fast so that it's a success. It always has to be a success for the children, because then it gives them a sort of feeling of it will be all right, sort of thing. Even though in real life maybe it wasn't all right, but that she could play with it, that the daddy bird is coming, every now and then. So it's amazing what comes into the children's imagination, and
so powerful, those images, aren't they?
Yeah.
Lovely. Like the nest for one thing, and then mommy bird and me being in the nest, and daddy to make sure that he does come back to us, but he might come and go, but he's going to always come back, kind of feeling.
Yeah, and we made these decisions together. It was not that I made this, what can we do? And we were thinking together the string and the bird business, and then it make it sound like it's more her idea. That we could say, what shall we do with this string, for example? And then she kind of wakes up and says, we can do this. And she has come back to see me 10 years later, that's saying that, that her mom brought her to see me. And, that you have this kind of successes, so to speak, or because it's in the child themselves, you just have to get, or anybody, you just somehow have to make them to realize that they have it in themselves. It's just being confident.
We facilitate, don't we? We facilitate that change. That's really all that we do. It's just we hold the opportunity for change, and that's it. Yeah. And it's in them, and we just provide the materials and the opportunity. Magic.
And it doesn't have to be complete change. It's towards the change, because it's better people are not too hard on themselves, that that a little steps are as good as any.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. I am so grateful that you came on today and that you had a chat, even though it's not your thing and maybe you weren't comfortable at the start and everything, but I'm really appreciative of your time.
Oh, thank you. That's okay. I'm glad actually that I did came, because I thought I've written so many papers and about various things, not for publication or anything like that, but for various projects, and you should always kind of want to research and do things right so that you don't. But then, I'm glad also that I didn't postpone it because it was hanging around my neck, because this is the way, how you are trained to do things, and you think it is free chat is very nice.
There's no pressure. It's just an opportunity for things to just be said and discussed. And
thank you very much for having me. I enjoyed chatting to you, and good luck with your podcast, you call it, or
that's perfect. That's it. Thank you so much, and I'll share the link with you in case you wanted to hear anybody else. There's a few people that you might be familiar with that I've interviewed, so might be nice.
And good luck with your work as well. You got a long road ahead of you.
I hope so.
Just stick to it.
Yeah.
There will be always, you need it now more than ever, that after all these trying times,
Definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you and take care.
You too. You too.
All the best.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. I don't know. I mean, I have some slides. I was talking about this sort of some of the slides, but particularly from the Finnish art therapy sessions, because I think that we were a bit of a wilder bunch of people than nowadays you ever see, and that's why there was a certain sort of freedom to express things. And also, they were quite open, people. I remember a young man telling me how he felt when he was really sick with psychosis. And he said that he saw the blood running along the walls in his flat. And he was so scared. And all this sort of visual hallucinations and auditory hallucinations. And, it just gives you some insight what is going on in the psychotic mind and how terrifying things are for people, and to have this kind of outlet of attack the paper and the paints. They have all easels and it was set like effort was put into that. It looks like artist studio.
Yes.
So that they felt that we are not given just old grabby table and a bunch of charcoals. Nothing wrong with charcoals, but that thought was put into it, how things look. It's art therapy or art room for you, and people produce amazing work, and this artist was always, when sometimes people were stuck what to do, he gently introduced something. Would you like to try this one? And then they took it away and made it their own thing. And this, clever person. I learned a lot, as along the way from other people's approach and how they relate to people and how they relate to people who were really sick, and how you don't be intrusive in any ways. And that was really the same with Edward Adamson, that you are quietly there, but vigilant with your mind. Your presence was non-threatening, but you were not yawning there and thinking, when is this going to end, sort of thing, that you were with them, with the patients, clients.
Present.
Yeah.
It's lovely. It's a lovely image of sharing, in the art room, sharing ideas, because that the first thing, when you see a blank canvas, it can be very intimidating. It's blank.
Yeah.
What do I do? So that lovely gentle introduction of some sort of theme from that person was lovely. It really eased people.
Yeah, they didn't have canvases though. They just had paper.
Oh yeah, still on the easel. Beautiful.
Yeah, still on the easel. Yes,
lovely. Yeah, that's so lovely. I was fortunate enough when I was doing the training in Cork that I had a full year, 2 days placement in St. Patrick's Hospital, and like that, I had 1 day in the art room, and it was open studio, and then I had 1 day with individual clients, and then eventually I got to do groups then from the individuals, and it was just like that, like just gorgeous to have the opportunity and the encouragement from staff to just go for it. It was lovely, and being on the multidisciplinary teams, like you say, and just being involved. It really, it was just just what I needed at the start of my training, to just be like, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. It's perfect for me. I love this. Yeah.
I would think you would be very much non-threatening person, Often when you're young, and I remember on my young days, that they make sure that you are also comfortable. The patients, they are very sensitive to you, and that if there was some threatening behavior, the others immediately say that you don't talk like, or swearing went on or something, you don't talk about like that in the presence of a lady here or whatever. You felt protected yourself, because sometimes things can be a bit scary.
Yes.
Actually,
open studio kind of feeling, like people can come in and come out, and you don't know where they've been and where they are at, and that's hard. Yeah. But magic, like the potential is huge in those spaces. But yeah, I'm currently doing private practice at the moment, and mostly with children, just I suppose because of COVID, a lot of people are having a lot of anxiety, it's mostly children that are coming with anxiety at the moment.
Because of the anxieties at home, which is understandable.
Just not knowing what's going to come tomorrow, kind of.
It's very tough.